very nearly over. The new season is underway. Oh, he's got so much momentum now. Jarno Opmeer wins the opening race of the year. And he's so close to contact. He's got the job done. David Tanitsa wins. Here are the 5 red lights in Shanghai. Oh, this side by side. This is for the race win in China. Opmeer is going ahead. Jarno Opmeer wins. Brilliant stuff. Predicting entertainment, providing us with some.
Hello and welcome along to the F1 Esports Pro Series presented by Aramco. This is the first of its kind for this season, the qualifying show, bringing you all the behind-the-scenes gossip, chatter, as well, of course, qualifying. We have highlights from Zandvoort coming up, as well as live qualifying for Canada. Now, this show wouldn't be fun with just me. We, of course, have once again Mr. Nick Hamilton, racing driver, esports extraordinaire, and, coined by Sonic Sautunk, celebrity. Have you gotten over that yet?
No. You realise who you're talking to right now, buddy?
Do you want to take the show? It's fine if you want.
It's actually my show.
He's trying to take my show already. Unbelievable. But as we saw with the highlights there, Nick, we had an epic first few races and qualifying. So thank God we have this show, because how unbelievably close are these aliens?
Yeah, you took the words right out of my mouth. Aliens, unbelievable what they do. Making sure they perform Q1, Q2 and Q3 and be so close, you know, within tenths of a second or hundredths of a second was incredible.
Yeah, it really was. Here's the Drivers' Championship standings to take a look how we stand after 3 rounds. And Jarno Opmeer, they called him Mr. Hot Lapper, but he's been performing on the racetrack as well. And then we have Marcel Kiefer, Freddie Rasmussen, the Red Bull boys looking very strong as well. And I think just generally, when you look at the standings from the first 3 races, Nicolas Longuet, he'd be a little bit disappointed, won't he, that you know, he had pretty decent qualifying pace. He was on pole for a couple of them, got one of them stripped away because of a lap time deleted. But overall, lots of pace, but not that many points to show for it.
Yeah, I mean, he's going to be upset. Obviously, he was really doing a great job, wasn't he, for the first couple of races, getting those poles in. It just seemed to make a few mistakes in the races, and he seemed to struggle at Shanghai, which was quite costly for him. He didn't get the job done in qualifying, and then it put him on the back foot for the race, and he came away with no points. But he knows he's got the pace, he knows he's got the potential. You know, it's still early days. So
what we've learned, I suppose, obviously Nicolas Longuet, one of those that's definitely got the pace but not been able to perform, but Alfa Romeo was definitely the team that came out the blocks firing, but they weren't bulletproof. You had Danny Beresne, for example, being out in Q1 of Vietnam, always thanks to the quali show, you're welcome. But they aren't bulletproof, but they're definitely looking like the strongest team at the moment.
Yeah, they've got great team work as well. They work really well together. You can see they're not being selfish. They're really helping each other when they need to be in the races to make sure they get the job done for the team in general. But yeah, going back to Hanoi, you can see that was a real bad mistake for the team and for Danny Beresne to be able to struggle at Hanoi. And we knew that Hanoi would be quite difficult to overtake.
Indeed. Now, I know that everyone tuning in, you're a massive fan of the quali show. You know exactly how the format goes. But if you're new, let's take a look at exactly what is ahead of the drivers for today. So we have Q1, Q2, Q3, very similar, in fact, identical to what we see in Formula One, Nick. And I love it. I love to see the fact these drivers have to perform 3 times. And it's so close, and we get to see all of it.
Yeah, this is real life. It's realistic, and that's what I love about this new format. Everybody that knows Formula One in real life will be very familiar with the format, and the drivers will be a bit different. To be fair, you know, they haven't had that pressure from Q1, Q2, and Q3 all the way through qualifying, and they've only got a couple of sets of tyres to do it as well. So it's new for the drivers, but I think it's a fantastic format to definitely have in the Esports Championship.
Yeah, lots of pressure for the drivers. Now, if you have any questions, feel free to send them in the Twitch chat or hashtag F1 Esports on Twitter. We're looking at Zandvoort next, Nick, where this is a track that I find iconic. It's so awesome. You've got the banking. It's very quick, but very difficult to overtake as well.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see what happens. We didn't get to go there in real life F1, did we, this year? So your guess is as good as mine in terms of what we're going to do. The track is obviously very iconic, as you said, with the cambered corners, especially the new banking they have at the last corner. It's going to be interesting, but hopefully there will be some opportunity for overtaking.
You've had experience around there as well, haven't you? You mentioned it off camera earlier. Like, yeah, I've been round here.
No, I haven't been round here as such. I just know it very well from the F3 days, following my brother. F3 Masters used to be there, and it used to be like the race to win in Formula 3 back in the day. So I do know the track well in that sense, but it'd be great to see what the other guys do when it comes to qualifying.
Now let's take a look around Zandvoort, and who better than home hero Max Verstappen to see just how you can be quick around this track.
Hi, my name is Max Verstappen, driving for Aston Martin Rebel Racing, and here I am to take you around the lap at the Zandvoort circuit. It's an old school circuit. Let's check it out. Straight away what you can see is the first corner. You can brake very late. The corner is a bit cambered, but of course also easy to lock an inside wheel. On the exit you try to run as wide as you can. Then turn 2, all about positioning yourself off. Turn 3, which is now massively cambered, so a lot more speed compared to before. Again, use all the road on the exit. And then this is basically all flat out, but with a great scenery. And then you come to the corner, which is the most fun. It's a very fast corner in F1. And again, here you set yourself up, very fast right-hander, use all the track available, and again, try to brake on the left to open up this corner on the exit. Always a bit of oversteer. And going into this one, again, you use the whole road on the entry. And again, on the exit, you try to maximize as much as you can. A lot of fans on the left and the right. Late braking into this one. Right-hander, you sacrifice a bit to open it up for the left-hander. Again, tricky corner. On the exit, a bit of oversteer. And then this is a very fast corner again in F1. It's all about hitting the apex well and go early on throttle. And then, of course, the last corner massively banked. And you open the DRS, and that's a lap of Zandvoort.
Max Verstappen there, taking us around the track. Now let's take a look at exactly what happened in qualifying around the Zandvoort circuit. And there were a few struggles, weren't there, Nick? One of them, we're riding on board with Danny Beresne. This is quite early on in the session. He set a lap time, but only a 1:08.0, which turned out to not be good enough to get out of Q1.
Yeah, right now he's P16, which is a terrible result for him. He's not going to be very happy with that. You can see Bono Ruiz going P1 in Q1, which he'll be very, very impressed in.
Yeah, very happy with that, I'm sure. Can he continue that into Q2 and Q3? We'll find out right now. 41 seconds remaining. And Joni Tormela, a driver I've been rather impressed with. He's been showing a lot more pace than maybe he has done in the past. He's said that he won't shave until he wins. That was a lie, because he's definitely shaved since. He's very clean shaven the last time I saw him on the cameras. But going P1 at the moment in Q2. But there's still a few more struggles to be had out there. David Tanitsa, we're going to ride on board with him right now, had a very difficult last race as well as first round. He won the second one, but didn't manage to get into Q3.
Yeah, what a shame for him. That's P11 at that moment, but I think he did actually drop even further back there. So considering he's reigning champion, he will be very upset with that. That's not where he wants to start the race for sure.
That's the beauty of this series. It is so unbelievably close, and Tanitsa out in Q2, definitely a surprise. Let's look at Q3 now. There's a few names there that I'm sure will be very happy to be there. Danny Moreno, a debutant to this season. Here's Joni Tormela again. I've been singing his praises. Where does he end up in all of this? He comes over the line with a 1:07.794. Not going to be good enough for pole, but he's actually saying before that although he looks quite cool on the exterior, a very nervous man.
Maybe that's just a finish thing, but you can see how close he was to the pit wall when he crossed that line to minimise that distance to the line. So we're now riding on board with Rasmussen. He'll want to get the job done if he can, as Marcel Kiefer is doing a good job for the team already in P2. So he comes across the line, and where does that put him? That goes to P1, so that's a great second lap for him.
Yeah, Freddie Rasmussen trying to grab hold of that P1 position within the team, as well as on track as well. And a very decent lap for Rasmussen, showing pretty much his form that we have seen for a few seasons gone by. Fabrizio Donoso was very impressive at Vietnam last time out, and he is in Q3, which I'm sure he'll be very happy with, bringing that form that Renault are starting to show with Nicolas Longuet as well, and he goes up to P1 at the time, and there he is. Sits very close to the steering wheel, doesn't he?
Yeah, I've noticed that, and he wears his heart on his sleeve. You can see when it doesn't work out for him, he's very upset, so he'll be very happy with P1 at the moment. Now this is Fredrik Rasmussen for his final attempt, so this is for him to get the job done and snatch pole from Donoso. It's great to see Donoso actually up there in P1. Really happy for him there. You can see Rasmussen come down around the last corner, really close to the pit wall to minimise that distance, and goes P1.
Lovely lap from Rasmussen, taking pole position, and well, I don't think we can call him Mr. Hot Lapper anymore because he's leading the championship by quite a substantial margin. It's Jarno Opmeer who has really just been a class of his own, really. He's been better than Danny Berezne, and coming into this season, I thought Berezne would have been the top of the 2 Alfa Romeo drivers. He comes over the line 11 thousandths of a second. Look at him, he's P2 on the grid and he looks like he's starting P20.
Yeah, he's not happy with that one, is he? Unbelievable. But it shows the level that these guys are working at.
Absolutely, but I'm sure he'll still be happy with that. We'll take a look at the qualifying standings, and there you have it. 11 thousandths was the gap between the two on the front row. Then you have Nicholas Longe and Fabrizio Donoso. Pretty strong performance from both the Renaults, especially Donoso, bringing back that form that we saw in the very first season of F1 Esports. You've got Marcel Kiefer, Alvaro Caraton, he'll be happy with that. Yoni Tormela, a little bit off now, where we kind of maybe expected him to be. Brendan Lee, there or thereabouts. That's what I want to call him. I don't think it's a very good nickname, but either way, in Q3, doing well. Danny Moreno, he'll be happy with P9. And Bono Huis, Brendan Lee's teammate, making it into Q3 as well. Pretty happy, I'd say.
Yeah, for sure. We've got Michael Romanidis for Williams in 11th. Benito doing an okay job, out-qualifying his teammate Tornitz, with Baldwin doing okay as well. Cedric Tomei and Simon Weigand not really doing the best of jobs for Haas. It's not really coming together for them at the moment. And Danny Berezne, massive shock in P17. So what can he do?
Absolutely. Let's take a look at exactly... Well, actually, no, let's throw a poll to you. I want to know your predictions, the podium predictions. Who is going to be on the top 3? Put it in the Twitch chat, hashtag F1 Esports on Twitter as well, to get in your predictions. What are your predictions, Nick? We've seen qualifying. What are your predictions for the top 3?
Well, I think Jarno Opmeer is going to take it. Really, for me, he's really a man on form. Be good to see Donoso up there and also Longe to really help his championship chances.
Absolutely. Now, if you've been watching this along and thought, you know what, 2021's my year, I can take it to the best in the world, we've got a little promo teaser here to tell you exactly how you can get involved with the second qualification event. There you have it then. So Lando Norris, P7. You've got fresh tyres. It's basically mimicking the USGP of 2019, but you can change the history. You can get higher. I've heard P2, and you're looking pretty good. Nick, you'd fancy yourself with some fresh rubber in a scenario like that, wouldn't you?
Definitely. Fresh rubber is where it's at, especially if you want to take it to your teammate as well. That's the best opportunity to do that.
Yeah, you've got Carlos Sainz ahead of you, Danny Rick as well. So you can have a go at that. And if you are able to match Lando's P7 or better, then you'll be placed on the leaderboard on f1esports.com. And then the top 7 per platform will go to the Challenger Series, which starts at the end of December. Very excited. I feel like every single year, Nick, it just gets closer and closer and closer. I don't even want to know what 2021 is going to bring.
Yeah, I mean, it just shows how this series is just growing and growing and growing. You've got faster drivers, they're getting more structure, more personality as well. So it's only going to go from this level and further up. So it's, yeah, really excited to see what it brings.
Oh, I mean, I nearly exploded from how close it was in the last qualifying show. So 2021, bring it on. But we're going to be casting our attention now to the Circuit de Gilles Villeneuve, because that's the one we're going to be watching live right here. And who better than Lance Stroll to take us around the circuit?
Hi, my name is Lance Stroll. I race for BWT Racing Point F1 team, and I'm going to take you around a lap of Circuit Gilles Villeneuve, which is my hometown back in Montreal. I had a great race there last year, and I'm really looking forward to going back this year. Okay, home sweet home. Breaking into the first corner, very, very bumpy. There's a lot of curb riding into corner 1, a bit of a snap there to corner 2. Not the cleanest first sector. And now we're approaching corner 3 and 4, and yeah, a lot of curb riding over the second chicane. It's important to get on top of the curb, turn 6, get back on the power as early as possible through 7, heading down to turn 8. Long straights here, so it's always important to really attack the braking zones, but focus on getting the car rotated and get back on the power as early as possible to get a good run down these long straightaways. The hairpin, one of my favorite corners on the track. It's a very hard braking zone into the hairpin, and it's a good overtaking opportunity during the race. Yeah, now we're heading down the back straight. It's just pretty long. Getting up to some high speeds there. Not my best final chicane, but I actually remember being pretty quick through there. And that's a lap around Montreal.
Well, thanks to Lance Stroll for that hot lap. We now take a look on board Joni Tomla in the AlphaTauri, Nick. Where can it be won and lost around this pretty fast and furious Canadian Grand Prix circuit?
Yeah, it's pretty much got everything you need. This sector is really important, especially through this chicane. You've got to get right close to the wall. Any mistake and you're in that wall, which isn't great for your chances. Into sector 2 now, it's all about hooking up your apexes, getting on the power, getting great exit speed. And this is where the first DRS is here at Montreal. So there's potential opportunities there for overtaking. Then it's all about carrying all your mid-corner speed through that right and left, and then it's the hairpin here, and getting it rotated and stopped at the same time and getting on the power. This is where you're going to have a lot of potential for overtaking opportunities, because obviously DRS wide open, and then it's all about sending it into the final chicane with that wall of champions on the outside as well.
You have so much time to think about it, don't you? If you're on a good lap, you're like, oh no, there's one chicane left with the wall of champions. It's not the easiest thing to end the lap on, is it?
No, not at all. And you basically just have to chuck it over the curbs and hope for the best.
Absolutely, send it. Right, let's take a look at the driver lineup for this qualifying session. We've got 2 pages for you. Here's the first. Danny Berezne, Jarno Watmir. No surprise that there's no change at the Alfa Romeo team. And there's not many changes, to be honest, as we look across the board. You've got the likes of James Baldwin and Danny Moreno heading it up for McLaren. Out of that page, Nick, who are we looking at? And there's the second page, in fact. Who are we looking at in terms of qualifying? Obviously, the usual faces we've seen. Anyone you'd like to see perform?
Yeah, obviously, usual faces. I'd like to see what James Baldwin can do. I think it'd be great for McLaren to get involved in the mix. Obviously, Brendan Lee, Danny Haddad, would be interesting to see what he can do today as well. He's another driver that wears his heart on his sleeve. Lucas Blakely's been a bit quiet, so I'd like to see him come out fighting today and see what he can do as well.
I'm surprised you didn't say Sally Southtunk. He's the guy that called you a celeb last time out. But anyway.
Stop calling me out.
Well, we enjoyed having him so much last time on the Quali Show, we decided to invite him back because no one else was available. It's Mr. Tom Deacon!
Yes!
Hey!
Yes! It's so lovely. What kind words. I thoroughly enjoyed it. Nick, it is an absolute blessing to be so close to a celeb. So I'm actually looking forward to this. This is going to be great fun, and what a great way to start with the qualification there.
Yeah, absolutely. You brought your mug, you brought some notes as well. What have we got on those little bad boys?
I got a few things because you always pick on me on this show, the pair of you. So listen, I've got some notes to back up the things I'm about to say, and it's going to get pretty tasty.
Okay, so what are we looking forward to then in this next one? Give us a little
Oh, that's
taster.
not how it works.
These are like comebacks.
Yeah, these are
Okay.
these are my, a lot of that.
And you look like you've got a pen from school.
Yeah, this is actually
they're
straight
the
out. My pen.
best.
These are the best ones. So yeah, and with that sort of attitude, you're going straight to red. So there we go. Little comment there for Nick. No, I'm really looking forward to this. And what a shock it was for Zandvoort in terms of Berezne and not performing as we'd expect. So it is, as you said, Matt, going to get so juicy, so exciting. It gets better every year, and this is the best format to see what they can do in Q1, Q2, and Q3.
Yeah, it really is. It ramps up the pressure, and I'm very excited to see what you've got on that piece of paper. I don't know if it's just you just going 0.001 is 1,000.
Yeah.
Have you learnt them yet?
Yeah.
Okay, perfect. So you can read out this qualifying. Perfect.
Yeah.
Q1 is underway, as you can see on your screens. You'll get to see our 3 faces as we dive into it. Q3 will get a little bit more aggressive, a bit more important. You won't be able to see our faces then as we dive into who is going to start on pole position for this Canadian Grand Prix. But right now, just to explain, all the drivers are out on intermediates because there's no rush to get this underway. They only have a certain amount of tyres in order to get through each session. So instead of going out there when the track is green, where there's not a lot of grip, they go out on inters to make sure that their setup's working and to lay a bit of grip down as well. Yeah,
It was
inters.
I was surprised on that, to be fair.
It's not raining.
Because we chatted to Ben Daly, Tim McMurdoch from McLaren team, their manager, and he was saying, yeah, you would expect them to go out really late. They wait until the last moment to get out and get that hot lap, which is interesting. I've got a fact for you.
Hello.
You ready for the facts?
Come on then, let me have a sip whilst you do it.
That's why I wasted all this ink on this. Listen, 5 drivers going in before Zandvoort to get into Q3. There was only 5 of them. Jarno Opmeer, Kiefer Rasmussen, Joni Tommela, Enzo Benito. But after Zandvoort, it's now down to 4 as Enzo Benito didn't make it into Q3. So out of those 4...
So those are the Q3 every single time?
Every single time that we've had in 2020. So will they make it again? So I'll be looking out for that, eagle-eyed, ready for it.
Ready to update your stats.
Yeah.
I like it, I like it. So obviously, the Canadian Grand Prix, you took us through it, Nick. It was it's a fast and furious track. It's quite a short lap time as well. So I don't think my brain's going to really be able to comprehend how close this is going to be because we're looking in the sort of 1 minute 9s, 10s. I'm saying numbers, but it's going to be a low number. I don't know what these aliens are going to be able to do. We'll see it in Q1, and the track will ramp up as well.
Yeah, from a guess, I'm going to say 107.
Yeah, it'd be shorter than that.
Maybe 6.5 maybe.
Yeah. I said 9 and I was like, no, that's what I do. What would you do, Tom? What were you thinking?
I'd probably just, this isn't my round. This isn't the round for me, Canada. I'd let the other driver in
What
the team.
round is yours then?
Near my house, there's a great car park area that I'm pretty nifty round.
Pretty rapid round.
Don't want to go on
Of course,
about it.
not tearing around, of course. You're not a boy racer. So you're probably wondering why there's a lull in the qualifying action at the moment. Well, right now, we're waiting for the time to tick down a little bit. This is just kind of just settling ourselves in. They've gone out on inters, made sure that their equipment's working. But as Tom mentioned earlier, they wait till the very last minute to get a few runs in. But this one, we'll probably see a little bit earlier because I'd imagine some of the drivers will want to get a banker in and then go for their more aggressive lap time. So we've got a little bit of time to chat.
Yeah.
What do we want to talk about?
More things from my notes.
Come on then.
Nick, you mentioned it earlier, and I know I'm going to start early doors again. I feel like I'm hard on the Haas team, but you said it's not coming together for them. And how can they go about, how can their strategy, even Simon Weigang the other day on Twitter said, I'm giving up esports. They're hitting a bit.
Did he?
He said that. They're not giving up, they just find it hard. How do you break through? They've never, in the history of F1 esports, had a #1 finish. The highest they finished is 5th. So how do they go about turning that around? What would be your mindset to change that?
Well, firstly, saying you're giving up esports, that's not a good step. That's not a good first step, is it? No. You don't really want to hear that from your driver. I mean, it's a shame that they're not getting it together. Going back on the Zandvoort qualification, it just seems basically just pace that they seem to struggle with. I think once they get their one lap pace sorted, they'll be in the mix. And once you're in the mix in the top 10, you only need to find half a tenth, and you'll go from P10 to P5.
Yeah, qualifying, you know, there has been glimpses of hope, especially I think Simon Weigang in Q2, I want to say, or maybe Q1 at China, where he was top of the standings, but he has pace. It's just delivering. That's the problem that some of these drivers are having right now because of how close it is. And I'm convinced the reason they are so close this year is because they're at home. They have their own home setups. They can tweak it however they want. They've got time rather than coming in the studio where they have a certain allocated time to tweak everything. They're at home. They're all pretty much at the top of their level right now. So if you just 5% off, you're out in Q1.
And the history's there because Cedric Tomei, Canada, 2019, he won the race in F1 esports. So, I mean, the caliber and quality is there, but just somehow not. Maybe it's just increased, like you say, Matt. It's got even better. It's even more competitive this year. But if you can't get out of that mindset, it's going to be very difficult. And with this qualifying as well, that just puts more pressure before you get to the live race.
Absolutely. One man we can talk about a little bit as we see Freddie Rasmussen on an outlap. Lucas Blakely, he had a lot of momentum coming off the exhibition races that we had. He would have won the unofficial championship if we'd called it that. I'm sure he's probably got a little trophy that he's made for himself, the unofficial champion of the exhibition race. Either way, I haven't seen the pace that I was expecting from Lucas. It's an odd one because I thought he was thriving in that home environment. What would you potentially put it down to, Nick? Where do you think some drivers are lacking when it comes to qualifying in the race?
I don't know. I mean, when I was talking about Lucas Blakely, I was saying he's been a bit quiet, and I was surprised by it. I wouldn't put it down to talent or lack of pace or anything like that. It's literally just turning up on the day and getting the job done. You can see, even Tornitsa, for example, in Zandvoort, just didn't really turn up, did he? And that put him in like P14.
Yeah.
So literally not getting everything right, you're right at the back of the grid or where you don't want to be. So it's just about dealing with that pressure. But we know he can deal with it. So hopefully, as time goes on, it'll just be a bit more easier for him as he gets more comfortable.
Well, you smashed your predictions there, Nick. We're on a 1 minute 7.2 for Freddie Rasmussen. I'm going to get my iPad out because it's very exciting. I think I'm going to be able to see the sector times. If not, I'm going to start crying. But either way, we continue on in Q1. Freddie Rasmussen, the only man. Oh, make that Daniele Haddad as well. Setting lap times. Here come the bankers, don't they, Tom?
Yeah.
You got any? There was a lot of writing on your cards.
Listen,
have you got anything else to surprise us with?
I like to be prepared. Danny Hadid comes in for Shinaka Clay, obviously from Zandvoort. So that is interesting. You mentioned Lucas Blakely. He's definitely the #1 driver for Racing Point. And I like that strategy that, Shinaka said, maybe I'm going to be better for Zandvoort. And then Haddad's like, yep, I've got this one for Canada. So I can see a lot more of that happening. But would it knock a driver's confidence if you've kind of said you're better at this one, or you kind of want to be racing every race, surely, as a driver?
Yeah, no, you're right. You want to be at every race, don't you? And you want to be a valuable member of the team. To me, it seems like the guys at Racing Point, in terms of their manager and team structure, they don't really know
who the #2 is.
Who the #2 is and who's going to be there all the time. If #1, as Lucas Blakely is for the team, if he's performing, are they going to have a rear gunner doing the same sort of job? Which is, it's hard. It's hard, isn't it, really?
Yeah, absolutely. I'm trying to unlock this iPad. I was told there was no passcode on it, but whoever gave it to me, clearly there is a passcode. I didn't have the same fingerprint as him. So I'm trying to unlock it. So hopefully I'll get the code in my ear very shortly and I can have a look at the sector times. But right now, 8 minutes and 8 seconds remaining. Q1 is starting to unfold. Lots of track action. And I've just been given the code. Here it is. I've just unlocked a treasure of secrets. Love it. So I
believe it's the same PIN number as well for his account.
I will be popping to the shop afterwards.
Yeah, definitely use that.
Amazing.
The AlphaTauri, mentioned Joni Tormala earlier, Matt, and he has been, he got points in every single round so far for the actual races that we've had. Interesting, Bianco Lila doesn't seem to be qualifying. He said, a lot of promise. He said, doesn't reflect his pace. So in qualifying, he's not quite managed to come up to pace in the actual race. But again, we mentioned, as I did, Danny Haddad, Shinaka Clay swapping places. Patrick Holtzman's on the subs bench to come up, and he's got fantastic experience, 3 podiums in the history of F1 Esports. Would there be a time, say, and I don't want to set up a storyline, Nick and Matt, but
you do.
If I do, you do. if he doesn't manage to get on the points or improve and get up into the top 10, then is there a time when you bring in a bit more experience? Because, the team championship's up for grabs.
Yeah, I mean, the team's put a hell of a lot of practice into this sort of stuff, and they will know who their fastest drivers are. If Bianca Lila is genuinely making mistakes in qualifying and not performing to where they believe Holtzman would be able to get, then yeah, let's put your front foot forward, change it round. At the end of the day, this is a team's championship, not a driver's championship in terms of where the money's decided. Of course, there is a driver's championship. There's a lot of pride on the line. As David Tonitza goes P2, which is much better, and hopefully we'll see him out of Q1 for his sake after a disappointing result in Zandvoort, going out in Q2. It's Brendan Lee as well. But yeah, I don't think the teams have any problem with swapping them out. We see it in real life Formula One. Why not in the virtual as well?
Yeah, I mean, they've got to do what's best for the team, haven't they? And this is all about performing at your best. These drivers are giving it absolutely everything. So just the same in Formula One, as Matt said, if you're not performing, the team is going to look to swap you out or, change you out of your contract or whatever that is in real life.
Keeping an eye on the times. There's a lot of information on this iPad, I'm not going to lie to you. Lots of numbers. But as soon as I see purple, I will start to get excited. But it is still very close, as you can see. But Rasmussen actually quite a little bit away from everybody else. A 107.2, which I thought may have been bettered by somebody because it was right at the start of the session. He was the first person to set a lap time. Even with Track Evolution, right now, he is at the top. And we're seeing the side of Freddie Rasmussen we've gotten used to a little bit.
He's a winner. I mean, that's the thing with Freddie. He is a very dedicated. They don't call him the Iceman for no good reason. He is very calm, collected. At one point, I think it was Hanoi, said this can get in the bin. One of the drivers said this can get in the bin.
Straight to the point. Yeah.
But he's come back. You know, round 4, round 5, as we're watching qualifying here. He is leaving nothing at the door, and that is what I expected from the first October races we had.
Marcel Kiefer has not set a lap time yet, not on a lap time here either. I don't think he's going to want to go for another lap time, but maybe he's nursed the tyres enough so he can go for another one. He does. Here we go, through the last chicane, past the Wall of Champions. They have to be very careful with that wall because they get unbelievably close to it, don't they, Nick?
Yeah, he hasn't really given himself that much time, has he?
No.
He's really got to get this one done. I don't even know if he'll be able to have a second run at it. So
Good
he's
point.
given himself a lot to do. This is Simon Weigang down the back straight. DRS wide open, and this is the Wall of Champions coming up, and it's all about braking and carrying as much through there as you can without touching the wall. Where does this put him? Goes P8. That's a good lap. It's a good lap from Simon Weigang. He'll be happy with that.
Not bad for him.
Don't give up now. Don't give up the esports now, Simon.
There's Tom's motivational speech for you. Kiefer's actually purple in the first sector, so that's a good start to his lap. We'll keep an eye on his middle sector. It's 3/10 off the likes of Blakely, who's gone up to P2. So, oh, goodness me, actually, Kiefer could be in a little bit of trouble. I think he's made a mistake in that middle sector. He's going to be around that mid-pack. He just needs to be in the top 15 if he wants to get through. James Baldwin, Sally Saltunk, Marcel Kiefer, Enzo Benito and Bono Huis are the 5 at risk at the moment. Here is James Baldwin coming through the first sector. And he sets, I can't see it just yet, but he's currently in the middle sector right now, Nick.
Yeah, I mean, this is really cool because you're seeing...
Kiefer only 14th, sorry Nick.
Yeah, no, I was just saying, you're seeing drivers that sort of struggled initially in the first couple of races, really coming to the fore here. So Lucas Blakely, P2, and Michael Romanidis, P3. And Bianco Lila, as you were saying, Tom, I think he heard you. I think his ears were burning.
That's what I do, Nick. If anyone's never realised what I do, I just set the time. It's exactly what Matt did when he called Jarno Opmeer a hot lapper. Where's Jarno Opmeer? Top of the championship right now. That's what we do. We inspire with our words. It is interesting to see the likes of Cedric Tomé just dropping out. So Simon Weigang representing for that Haas team, and I'll be rooting for them for the rest of the day.
I'll just say, big fan of that halo graphic. We see it in real life Formula One. We now have it in the game as well. Big fan of that as we dive into the last 2.5 minutes or so of Q1. Tomé, Baldwin, Saltunk, Benito and Huis. Well, Benito and Huis haven't even set a lap time yet. They've had a shocking start to this Canadian Grand Prix. Cedric Tomé 1/10 of a second up on his lap time that he has set. That's not on Rasmussen. That'll be on his own personal best. There he is. Oh my goodness me. Look at that exhale he just had going into the middle sector. He is fully dialed in as he's got a Ferrari weaving ahead of him. Hopefully he gets out of the way. He does indeed. 46 thousandths up. This isn't going to be
enough.
A monumental lap time for this Haas driver.
Yeah, I don't know if it's going to be enough. If he's only half a tenth up on his lap already.
Full send, isn't it, Nick? It's a full send into the last chicane.
And he's
got an outfit.
He's still warming up.
Okay.
Is he still warming up? Was he trying to get more temperature into them tyres?
This is 2019
really
champion of Canada. Would you feel a bit more pressure because you did so well last year? You kind of want to set the tone again and just go, yeah, I dominated last year. It wasn't a fluke. I got this.
I think it helps you because you know that you can clearly race with the top guys because you've done it before around this circuit. Clearly, Tomé was getting ready for a second lap. Maybe the tyres weren't in the window, so he's weaving down that straight to generate as much as he could. But yeah, I mean, Tomé's going to have some sort of, I don't know, excitement. The fact that he knows that he's got the pace when it comes to this circuit.
What's happening with Benito, Matt, and Bono Huis? What's going on?
Well, track limits are very, very strict around here, and it's very easy to just extend or cut just a little bit too much, and then your lap time is invalidated. I feel like that's probably what's happened for Benito and Huis, because it's not the most technical track. It's all about just carrying as much momentum as possible. As you can see, Yoni Tormler at the moment, another man very much at risk at the moment. Tanitsa goes up to P2, it seems. Displaces Lucas Blakely, who's on an outlap. But Tormler under pressure, and he was someone that was looking pretty strong at Zandvoort.
Yeah, and he's going to get a little bit of slipstream, I would say, down the back straight here, which is going to help him.
Oh, but a driver winding up for a lap time. This could be very close.
Even in front of him. So he gets out of the way, and this is it. This is it for him, making sure he doesn't tap the wall, which he doesn't. And where does that put him? Across the line. Your eyesight's better than me.
Yeah, Tormler, where he goes up.
He stays the same, so stays in
14th.
So he's on the bubble. He's on the bubble because there's going to be some drivers behind him that potentially will be on better laps as the track evolves. So that could be Tormler out of Q1, but let's wait and see. James Baldwin now on his final attempt down in P19. So he needs to get this lap done and dusted. This is now the second sector, super important, this chicane, braking as late as you dare, sending it over the left-hand side curb, and then making sure you do not tap the wall on the outside, and then it's that hairpin, really late on the brakes, get it stopped, a big lock-up there on the right front, but does he get a good exit? Unfortunately, we're not riding on board with him, so I couldn't see the quality of his exit, but now down the back straight, a lot to think about as it's now heading into the right and left chicane. And will this be enough for Baldwin to stay out of Q1?
Well, here we go then. Driving towards the line, where does Baldwin end up in Q1? It's only 16th, so he is out. He won't be progressing to Q2. He displaces Marcel Kiefer, who goes up to P11. That might just be good enough for the Red Bull driver, but not looking as strong as his teammate up in P1. We've got Bono Huis, Benito. They are both in the pits as well. So that is it for the Q1 session. It's Moreno, Baldwin, Huis, Benito, and Saltunk out in Q1. A few surprises there, it has to be said. On the cusp is Tormler, who will be breathing a sigh of relief, I imagine.
Yeah, for sure. It's a shame for Benito and Huis there. They didn't give themselves much opportunity, did they, really, to make mistakes? I think they only had one lap. I don't know whether they made mistakes on their out laps or on their first banker laps, but we didn't see much of them. But as you can see, Benito not very happy.
A face of disappointment.
It was interesting to see the McLaren team there. You know, we said, but going into this competition in 2020, a lot of promise for this team, but a very inexperienced in terms of F1 esports. You've got James Baldwin, the world's fastest gamer. We said that. Danny Moreno's put some 6 points so far he's picked up in the championship, but just they've learnt a lot from it. But going out in Q1, you just don't want that for their team to put more points on the board.
Yeah, saving grace a little bit is that Canada is one of those tracks where you can overtake, but I feel like we will also see the dreaded DRS train, which we've seen in a few races gone by. But there's still opportunities to overtake. I think the main bit of promise for the drivers further down the grid is the undercut. Really go for an aggressive strategy, get track position, and then try and hold on that. Very unhappy indeed.
Frustration.
Yeah, very unhappy indeed. But yeah, very interesting to see Benito especially. You would expect FDA Hublot Esports to want to really bounce back after last time out where they didn't score any points. Of course, Tanitsa got taken out in race 1 as well. Benito, we don't want to see that because that's what last season was. You know, FDA really struggled with getting that second driver to score points, and Benito in 19th, not ideal.
Yeah, and it's really surprising because Ferrari are very strategical. They make sure they get everything done, get everything right, and they don't make mistakes. And I think that's a mistake potentially from the driver, maybe, with some track limits. But yeah, a shame for Enzo Benito to be down there.
Yeah, the FDA team, in terms of how they bounce back coming into round 4 and 5, that's how I was going to see. What's the mentality of that Ferrari team? And hopefully they can deliver, but shame for Enzo there.
Yeah, massive shame. Let's take a look at the eliminated drivers from Q1. And some disappointment there, it has to be said. We saw Danny Moreno very disappointed on that camera just a little bit earlier. Then James Baldwin, Bono Huis, Enzo Benito, and Sally Saltunk. Sally Saltunk, your favourite, Nick, celeb, not down in 20th. it's so disappointing to see him down there because he has had so much pace, especially with earlier seasons. Whether F1 2020 is suiting his driving style is another question, but to be down in 20th after saying last time, I think we spoke to him after China, he was really disappointed. To then have another one like this, what's that going to do mentally?
Yeah, I mean, it's not going to be helpful, is it? I mean, you could see he knew what he was talking about, didn't he? When we were talking to him, having an interview with him, he knew that he was sort of struggling with car setup and he really wanted to make that or overcome that. But a shame that it's happened again into Canada. And he's only a 10th off the next driver. If a couple of tenths and he would have been, P15 and into Q2. So it's such fine margins.
It is indeed. Now, we've swapped Tom Deacon for another man, Alex Jakes. You will know, bring him in, F2 commentator and just all-round extraordinaire and just beautiful man. How are you, Alex?
I'm very well. It's good to see you both. It's good to be perching myself back on this sofa.
Yeah, back again. You watched Q1, of course. Any sort of takes from there that you're kind of maybe surprised about or some familiar faces at the top?
Yeah, very, very surprised to see Enzo Benito struggling going out there because I think we know that he will be able to unlock that pace. I think he's got a lot in the locker, but he does seem to be the sort of driver who needs everything to be exactly how he wants it. And when something is slightly off, when maybe something throws him out of his rhythm, he seems to find himself in this position too often, really, I imagine, for Ferrari's point of view.
Yeah, absolutely. And we can see Q2 is underway. And Jarno Opmeer is out there already, so we don't have any intermediate running like we had in the first qualifying session, which was very odd to watch. But hey, these guys have strategies that I don't understand, but we try to unravel those secrets as the season goes on. And it looks like bankers are underway in terms of wanting to get a lap time on the board and feel a little bit more comfortable.
Yeah, Opmeer ready to finish his first banker lap, so there's no waiting around for him. And what does he do there? Your eyesight is going to be better.
107.6, so that might be a used set as well. I think we saw that last time for the quali show as well, where they go out on a used set of tyres. Some of them at least, some of them may have saved some more soft tyres to be able to attack more aggressively in Q2 and Q3. Yeah, you've got Tormolo 107.8. We've got Nicholas Longuet at the top of the standings with a 0.5, I believe that is. Tanitsa coming in P2. We saw Rasmussen with a 107.2. I think that was a pretty mammoth lap time from the Red Bull driver because we've seen nothing near it so far.
Yeah, I thought it was going to be a little bit quicker, to be fair. I was expecting the 106s.
Oh, don't say that. They won't be happy with that. I was expecting better.
No, I thought that's a lap time around here for F1 Esports. So, yeah, a 107.2 looks like the benchmark. And I'm sure they're going to find a little bit more time as we go into Q3. That's when the track's going to be at its best. The driver's going to have everything turned up to the max, especially having already had Q1 and Q2 to perfect their laps. So you could see a potential maybe 107 dead. Or
wow,
maybe
okay.
a 106.9.
106.9? I'd love to see a 106. I think that would be a ridiculously quick lap time.
It'd be amazing. No pressure.
No pressure at all. Nick Hamilton has set the benchmark, anything less, and it's just a fail for all of these drivers. But they are the best in the world, and I'm sure we'll be able to see some very quick lap times come the end of this session. I feel like a lot of used tyres were used. Used tyres were used. Good English. But a lot of used tyres were put on the car for these first runs. Nicholas Longuet, he was the man on form and the man we were talking about after the first qualifying show. Back on top as well there, Alex.
Yeah, nice banker for him to get that in, find the rhythm. There's not a huge amount to do around this circuit, is there?
Was the way.
Are you sure?
It feels to me like there are fewer corners.
There's a sim right up there, Alex, if you want to have a go.
It ramps up the pressure per corner. So I suppose you have to be absolutely precise in the way that you chase it. Nick, you would disagree. You think there's plenty to do?
Definitely. The walls are so close to you. You're carrying so much speed through the chicanes. You know, a slight mistake and it's super costly to your race, to your qualifying, to your car generally. So as a circuit, you might think it's got a lot of straights and a lot of time to relax and think about the next corner. But don't forget, you're doing what, like 200 miles an hour at the end of that straight. You want to be able to stop in the perfect place, carry the speed that you need, and not make mistakes and hit the wall of champions on the exit.
Yeah.
You know, so there's so much for the drivers to think about. So yeah, I definitely do disagree with that.
I think I get what Alex was saying, and I think it comes back to my point earlier where it's not a technical track. It's one of those where it's all about momentum. You've just got to throw the car in and hope to goodness that you have turned in at the correct moment. But it is one of those where I feel like a lap time you can put on the board, but to get a 107.2, you have to be perfect and be carrying as much apex speed as possible. And then you have this long straight. You may have done the greatest lap of your life, but that last chicane is probably the trickiest part of the track for me in terms of, well, not just for me, but in terms of, in my opinion, because it's mentally, you just have so long to think about one of the hardest chicanes in Formula One.
Yeah, and if you just break a tiny bit too early, you're leaving time on the table.
Absolutely,
straight away. And in this level that we have here in F1 Esports, half a tenth is like 6th place.
Yeah, which is just ridiculous. And it also is the fact, it's not just breaking a little bit early and losing time, but it's also that if they do just push that little bit harder, they could get an entire lap invalidated from just cutting track limits. So they have to be so precise in order to smash that last chicane and get as much speed as possible through there, because as you say, lots of time on the board, but you don't want to throw a lap time down the toilet. Here's Jarno Opmeer, who's currently P4, which is good enough to get through to Q3. Remember, it's only the slowest 5 in this session that does not go through to the final qualifying session of the day. And he is 1/10 up on his previous lap time of a 107.608, which right now, we're putting right to the top, Alex.
Yeah, looks quick. A couple of lockups on this lap, so clearly pushing very, very hard at the complex, super technical challenge of the Shield Builder.
Do you agree with that?
I sit corrected. I think Nick's answer was very eloquent.
Like, who's the racing driver here?
Here's Jarno Opmeer across the line with the fastest time. That was excellent to ride on board with him, because you can see that he's locking up, but they're the lockups that don't cost you too much at all. David Tinitz has just gone over the line to go fastest of anyone so far in Q2, and Freddie Rasmussen, I thought a touch disappointing in the first event overall by his lofty standards.
Great lap.
That's a big response. Danny Beresne, after the disappointment that came in the earlier qualifying session, that is a great response.
Well, look, they're all motivated after hearing that Nick Hamilton has no interest unless you're in the 107 zeros. So let's see what. Marcel Kiefer now goes 107.185.
Wow.
To be right at the top. So we just got under 2/10 before we're in the window.
Under 2/10, easy.
Around here?
Yeah.
So easy to find.
Easy to find that 2/10 you need. This is where it's crazy, because when you get to that limit, trying to find an extra half a tenth or whatever, you can't really find it within yourself. It just almost has to just happen without you really thinking about it, because when you overthink it, that's when you make mistakes and give up time, and you think, oh, actually, I gained time there, and then you look at your delta and you've lost a tenth.
Yeah, that's something, if I go back to my old league racing days, many years ago, back when I actually could play this game to a good level, and you'd see that someone else has done a lap time 2/10 quicker than you, and you're going, how on earth am I going to find that? But then you keep practicing, you don't find the time, then you start over-driving and you start driving slower. Oh, that's Brendan Lee in the wall, and we just rode on board with him hitting the wall there, and I'd imagine that's an end plate gone, or at least the lap time not invalid. It might be invalidated, but either way, it's ruined. As you can see, he's not pushing in this middle sector, and he hasn't set a lap time yet, Brendan Lee, the 2-time champ.
Yeah, I was just going to jump in whilst you were talking about how you struggle to drive.
I definitely struggle now, I can tell you that.
Saying this is a big lap for Brendan Lee. Only 4 minutes remain, or 5 minutes remaining, and it looks like he's made a big mistake there, which is, as I said, Alex, this is what this track can do for you. You're saying there's not much for it to be able to do, but those mistakes can be super costly.
Yeah,
Nick, just constantly just grinding it in.
Yeah,
By the way,
just so
Alex,
you know,
you're wrong.
By the way, your punditry nearly as poor as Brendan Lee's mistake there.
Yeah. So yeah, that's put him on the back foot now. Brendan Lee's going to have it all to do to try and get that one lap in.
But fortunately, it's a short lap. 1:07 is what you're going for. He's got enough time to go in the pits, any repairs. It looked like his front wing was intact, but maybe he's got another set of tyres to whack on that Mercedes to go again and try and make his way into Q3.
This is interesting because when I play F1 Esports, F1 Esports, when I play F1 2020 and I make a mistake,
Which is rare, isn't it? You know what I mean?
I don't.
You making a mistake.
I'm a robot. I'm a robot. I don't make mistakes, but when I do make mistakes, the repair time could be like a minute, 2 minutes, and normally you can accelerate that time. So if Brendan Lee has actually got to have a bit of repair time done, you know, that could be real touch and go for when he gets out of the pits and whether he can get across the line in time.
What I've noticed with the lap times, it's not as close as we've come to know. And I thought this track would have been the one where we'd have, you know, a tenth between the top 10 because of just how short this track is and it's all about momentum. I thought this would be something that all the drivers would be really relishing. But right now, you've got the likes of Kiefer, Beresnay and Longuet. You put Tanitsa in there, maybe Tormula as well. It is still close, but it's not as close as, say, well, we had just under a tenth over the top 6, I think it was in Q3 for Zandvoort.
And do we think that is, and almost...
I love how you're just kind of throwing it up in the air now. Yeah.
Do we think that's track specific, or do we think that's a longer time with the game for the drivers, more hours logged, getting more comfortable? What do we think's led to that field spread that we've got right now?
I have absolutely no idea. That's why I'm surprised that, well, we've still got one more run, don't get me wrong, the track evolution is kicking in. We could see it get a lot closer as Romanidis is starting his flying lap, but I can't put my finger on what exactly is the reason for this field spread. You've got Donoso down with a 107.9. That's almost a second off around such a small circuit.
Yeah, no, you're right. I don't really know the answer, to be fair, and usually I know all the answers.
That's why you're here.
Yeah, I know absolutely everything. I just want to say that Romanidis is carrying the weight on his shoulders of Williams, replacing Caraton, hasn't he, into this one. So it's going to be an interesting lap. He's done a good job already to be up there in P9. So far so good, but we know with this lockup, and that's potentially cost him there. His exit's going to be affected all the way up this long straight, and this is where he's now basically given away free time.
Yeah, he was fractionally up on his previous lap time. I think about 67 thousandths of a second as he flies into the last chicane, and then judged pretty perfectly, it has to be said. But has he lost too much time going down towards the final chicane? Oh no, he goes up to P3.
See, I think he's got more time in him for sure. Without that lockup, I think he would, maybe been a half a tenth faster.
Yeah, definitely. So clearly, he'd made a mistake in that last sector on his previous lap because he improved a huge amount. Tomei doesn't look like he is going to be progressing unless he's got another lap time in him. Here's Lucas Blakely currently going to be out of Q2 if he does not improve. He comes over the line, P9.
Yeah, that's not bad. He'll be happy with that. Let's hope for his sake that the likes of his teammate, Haddad, doesn't overtake him there.
Here's Donoso, crucial lap as well. Coming towards the line, where does Donoso end up? Oh, it's up to P8 for Donoso. That's going to be on the cusp as we come to the final few moments of this qualifying session. Brendan Lee as well, the two-time champ, right on the ragged edge, wasn't he, Nick?
I'll tell you what, it's going to be interesting where that goes.
P4.
And P4. What? See, that's what I mean. That is the mental strength that you need to have at this level to have one lap to get it done. And Brendan Lee does that and salvages his session to put him into Q3.
We're up to P5 as well. Biancalila up to P10. There's still time to improve, isn't there, Alex?
There is indeed. Only 9 seconds, though, on the clock. We're on board with Nicolas Longuet right now in 8th position, weaving his way through this very complex and very difficult part of the lap. It's slightly wide there. That's going to cost him momentum as he tries to keep it out of the wall right now. So final laps have been completed for Kiefer as well as Beresnay. Romanidis is in 7th position. The driver highlighted carrying all of Williams' hopes, and it looked like there was a little bit of contact on the left-hand side there as he's
down.
Yeah, he is struggling. So on the cusp at the moment, including this man here, Freddie Rasmussen. If it all goes to plan, we'd expect him to be tapping on the door of the top 5. But let's see, can he deliver when it matters? It's 6th position as he goes over the line. That should be enough at the moment. But Nicolas Longuet, you never know which version we're going to get. That looked pretty rapid. Doesn't matter about the front right. Don't worry about that at all. Worry about your lap time, and it's 9th and on the bubble. That's 10th and on the bubble at the moment. But with Tourmalet, Blakely, Haddad, Donoso, and Tomei right now, 3 of those drivers in the pits. He might just get away with it.
He absolutely sent it into that final chicane to try and get through. He is currently P10, as you say. Lucas Blakely is the only man to not finish the session at the moment by the looks of things. But we're not seeing any improvements elsewhere, but that's more like it. I did mention that it wasn't that close in qualifying. We now have 1,000th of a second between first and second.
Yeah, there you go. Ask and they shall immediately turn it up. Delivering when it really mattered there. Weigang will be quite pleased, I imagine, with P4 there. And I think we've got a very, very solid top 10 shootout for Q3 in a few moments' time.
Indeed we do. So Lucas Blakely does not improve. He's in the pits now. So that is your bottom 5 of the session. Tourmalet, Blakely, Haddad, Donoso and Tomei. Donoso's going to be disappointed after a second row start for Zandvoort. That's going to be a bit of a kick to the guts, isn't it?
Yeah, I'm surprised and a little bit upset for him. It looks like Renault as a team generally have struggled from what was it, P4, P5 for Zandvoort.
3rd and 4th, yeah.
3rd and 4th, sorry, and not really getting the job done in Canada. What a shame. You can see Donoso not happy with that, and especially Tourmalet as well, down there and missing out on Q3.
There you go, back on their phones as always. I'm pretty sure if we don't see a driver on their phone during a qualifying show, it won't feel right, will it? But Alex, we've seen Q2 unfold. Obviously, we've got the final pole shootout coming up. What's been your takings from this? I feel like later on tonight, in the proper race show, we're going to have a race on our hands.
Interesting to see the variation from the earlier qualifying session to what we've got. We've talked about champions mentality with Brendan Lee. It's the consistency if you're going to keep yourself in that title battle. And you can't be seesawing from one track to another. And yet, for a lot of the drivers just eliminated, I think that's what we've just seen, just a little bit of a lack of consistency from one circuit to the other.
Absolutely. And Nick, Q2, that was very close. You can see that there's maybe a 10th and you're out. And that's been pretty much the trend of the whole season so far, hasn't it?
Yeah, as I said, it was like half a 10th previously, and that's like seven places. You know, so it's all about being on the top of your game. And a shame to see some of those drivers, you know, like Tourmalet, not making the cut. But I think it's really good to see drivers like Michael Romanidis in with a shout as well, and just shows, you know, the slightest of mistakes can be the difference between being right at the top or missing Q3 completely.
Right, Q2 is over. Let's take a look and see who's qualifying is over. Out of Q2, we have Tourmalet, Blakely, Haddad, Donoso and Tomei. Disappointing for Tomei, didn't clearly get a lap that he'd be happy with a 107.7. But Tourmalet just missing out. I mean, 1,000th of a second again, Blakely behind Tourmalet. So it's incredibly close. There's still opportunities for these drivers going into the race, isn't there, Alex?
There is indeed. You can sort that out down at turn number 1. But again, fine margins. I love the fact that, I'm not saying you were complaining, but I love the fact that you were annoyed that they weren't straight next to each other. But
well, I've motivated them, haven't I?
Yeah.
Obviously not for these guys because they're out, but in terms of how close it was, it's been great to see, and I think Canada's really going to deliver in this Q3 session as well. Who's your hot shot? I'm going to ask you for a prediction for P1, Nick. Who do you think, with how close it is, has got the minerals to get on pole?
I'm going to go with Tonitsa on this one.
Tonitsa, okay. Fighting back after a disappointing last race.
Definitely, and I think he'll definitely want to give himself the opportunity to get P1 or at least a top 3.
What about you, Alex?
I'm going to go for Rasmussen. I think it's cometh the hour, cometh the man. I think he's going to deliver because I don't think we've seen him at his very top level so far in the F1 Esports Pro Series so far.
That's a safe shout. So you've gone for Rasmussen, Tonitsa. I'm going to go.
You're going to
Or
wait.
do I?
You're going to
Yeah.
wait until the first
Give
lap.
me 9 minutes and 54 seconds. I don't want to go with Jarno Opmeer because that's too obvious. Brendan Lee. Let's have a Brendan Lee pole position. That'll spice things up, won't it?
Well, it'll be none of those three now. So we've cursed them.
Yeah, I'm known for my jinxing. So Brendan Lee will finish 10th now in this session.
I just want to make a shout out to Simon Weigang for making Q3
Yeah.
top 10 for a guy that is saying that he wants to give up F1 esports. Really showing that he can be in the mix with those drivers that we knew he could. Be. So that's going to be great for him to see what he can do. And I think he'll just be happy with a top 10 result, considering where he started in the previous races.
Yeah, it's a really good point, Nick. It's definitely something to boost the morale, isn't it, for Simon Weigang, who has shown glimpses of pace. We've mentioned it earlier in the show that China was a great example of that, where he almost peaked too soon in Q1. Set the fastest lap, but then didn't manage to get the grid position that he wanted. We can see a few drivers out there at the moment. Nicholas Longuet doesn't look like he's used a used set of tyres. That's a 1 minute 7.4, but I think Romanidis, Kiefer and Biancalila are all on used tyres. Freddie Rasmussen looks like he's saved a set as well coming into Q3 because those lap times are far too close to the ultimate pace that we've seen for these to be used tyres. And we've got a couple of people still in the pits, Weigang and Lee, so I'd imagine they have one set that they're saving themselves for the end of the session.
Yeah, I'm really interested to see what Brendan Lee can do. So impressed with his basically one lap that he got to get into Q3. It'll be great to see him get a top 3 result to really show that he went basically from the crux of the back end of Q2 to really put himself with a fighting chance into Q3. Jarno Opmeer taking the top spot as we are so used to seeing it currently in this F1 Pro Series. But yeah, Tonitza, my man, who I'm expecting to do a good job.
This has gone from predictions to bias, hasn't it? My man, Tonitza.
He's the guy that I said that I would like to get on pole. So I'm riding on board with him, hoping he does a decent job. We know he's got that pace, really strong. Look how he's pretty much inch perfect through the first sector. And this is really interesting here, braking and then getting it turned, using the curb, getting all of that grip, but it starts to oversteer sometimes on exit here. And then this is the first DRS zone. And then, yeah, it's pretty much lob the car over the right-hand side, hold on, don't touch the wall on the exit, and then try and get the car stopped for the hairpin. It's all about that exit, isn't it, onto that back straight.
It is indeed. David Tonitza going around the hairpin. His sights will firmly be set on now. One final piece of the track to overcome, the last chicane, the Wall of Champions. David Tonitza heading down towards there now. Reigning champion, but he's got to make up some points in these sequence of races. Chucks it in, and that's pretty much inch perfect. David Tonitza coming towards the line. What can he set in this Q3 session? It's a 1 minute 7.454. Puts himself in P2 for now.
Yeah, that's a good banker lap, I would say. A good first lap for him. He'll be happy. Alex, you haven't said anything for a while, mate. You've been a bit lonely over there.
I was enjoying you two first and foremost, and I was enjoying your biased Hamilton commentary, which is a sentence I've heard before, but not in the way that you did it. So anyway, it's another story entirely. Focusing on Brendan Lee. No, I haven't mentally checked out. I'm just waiting for your fantastic analysis.
Alex Jakes knows that the final 3 minutes is his.
Basically, final 3 minutes.
The rest
when
of it is where we have to work
collect
hard.
the check, go home. That's how it works. Brendan Lee, once again,
my man,
to get his
Brendan Lee. Let's go.
Other drivers are available in this Q3 session. Jarno Opmeer, David Tonitza, Nicholas Longuet.
That's quick. That's a quick first sector for Lee. We've seen a lot of 0.7s, and that's dipping into the 0.6s for Brendan Lee there.
As he makes his way then under the bridge, down from 8th, bang down through the gears, thread the eye of the needle, go tight to the wall, and he's been cursed with the backing a few moments ago, but is he going to be able to deliver? Looking to try and respond to what always gets brought up when we talk about Brendan Lee, the fact that he had those championships at the start and then the standard was taken a little bit further forward. Is he able to respond? I imagine a third title would be the sweetest for him. Right now, all he's got to worry about is the very final chicane on the circuit. We've got yellow flags in Sector 1, Sector 2, but this is Sector 3, and this is the effort from Brendan Lee coming across the line. DRS open, and Brendan Lee, what can...
Oh, it was invalidated. Ooh. So Lee's made a mistake there.
Wow,
at the
and that was
final
a
chicane.
0.2 on the board.
0.2 as well.
That could have put him well in the mix for pole position, but unfortunately he's taken some liberties somewhere around the track, invalidated his lap time, and that is going to put a huge amount of pressure on Lee. Does he have another set of tyres available? Yeah. Can he even get up there? That's the question we will be asking as Nicholas Longay also abandons his lap time. Marcel Kiefer through the final chicane. That's not ideal. A little bit deep on the first part of the chicane, but still flying towards the line. Kiefer, it's a 107.1, so you feel like there's even a little bit more time on the table for Kiefer there, but provisional pole. Where's his teammate go? Pole position. That could have been the difference between Kiefer on pole and Rasmussen.
Yeah, you called it. You noticed it very well. Good job. Yeah, unbelievable. Just a little bit too deep maybe for the first right-hander, and that's the difference between P1 and P2. What a great lap for both Red Bull drivers. I think they'll be super happy with that as a team. It's all about bragging rights, isn't it there? Marcel Kiefer will not be happy being in P2 and be out-qualified by his teammate, and the opposite for Frederick Rasmussen.
And it's a huge statement from Red Bull as well now. They're the team that are really trying to hammer down to Alfa Romeo, and Danny Beresme is looking a tiny bit out of sorts, it has to be said. You know, he's had that disappointing qualifying at Zandvoort. He's now not looking like he's one of the drivers to really challenge for pole position. He just needs to get in the mix, top 5, and we can work on the race later this evening. But right now, he hasn't set a lap time, Alex.
Yeah, and surprising as well, because he has been one of the gold standard drivers we've seen, consistently winning races, consistently running at the front. So maybe this setup of not having the atmosphere of the Gfinity Arena is working against him. Maybe he's not enjoying the setup back at home, because at the moment, you have to say, uncharacteristic errors creeping in from him. And, well, he's got 2 minutes and 47 seconds to put it right.
Let's hope so. Danny Beresme on his outlap, it looks like, on the graphics on your screen. David Tanitsa also on an outlap, and you'd imagine there's more time on the board for the reigning champion. 107.4 is not exactly setting any sort of fastest laps or any lights. I don't know what I'm going with that. Just lights are blazing. I don't know. Naming lights, that's what I was going for. Either way.
I just want to point out, I might be wrong, but Lucas Blakely and Tourmaler, Yoni Tourmaler, didn't they do a 107.3 and they didn't even make Q3?
That's a good point, yeah, because
right.
I think point 2 is the only thing to get you through.
So it put them, at the moment, it put them top 3, wouldn't it?
Yep.
In Q3. So for me, there's going to be a lot of time on the table, I reckon, in these last few laps. So this is Tanitsa on his final lap of the of qualifying.
Oh, it's so good. I love these Halo graphics, giving us all the information. This is what the quali show's about, giving you absolutely every bit of information you have always desired. 92 thousandths of a second up on his 107.454. Tanitsa on completely fresh rubber, Alex, trying to take pole position.
He is, with the DRS deployed. Hammers on the brake, bit of a feather touch on the brakes of that chicane, and then he's making his way now to the final hairpin. Not long to go, and he cranks on the lock, foot to the floor, up through the gears. This, well, basically all he has to do now is focus on one of the most important corners on the entire circuit. It's not a long lap, but it is one where the driver has to maximise these corners. Look at the concentration on his face as he throws it across the curve. That is so quick. Surely that's going to put him in the ballpark to try and take away pole as he goes across the line.
Oh, it is!
And he does get pole position, a 107.1.
What a lap. I don't think Tanitsa was really on target to actually get pole position there, but he threw it in, Nick, didn't he?
Yeah, and I was seeing how close he was to the wall, just like Otmir is, to minimise that gap down the long back straight. So what can Otmir do? Slinging it through the last corner, crossing the line now.
Oh, second on the grid.
E2.
These are fine margins once again. Look at the gap there, 0.03 of a second. Longuet knows how to take a pole position in the Esports Championship. How much is he going to risk into this final corner? That's nicely judged, but it's not quite as wild as we've seen from other drivers out there. Is it quick for Nicolas Longuet? And
7.
it is not. It's
funny how you said it's
107.2.
not.
It's very tight.
You said it's not, but it's still a 107.2, a very rapid lap time.
It's crazy. Here's Marcel Kiefer, currently 6th. He's got exactly the same lap time as Biancalila goes up to P2. Out of nowhere, he's finally performing. That's a great result for Biancalila. Here's Kiefer a little bit out of shape in the hairpin. Currently down in 7th position. The Red Bulls were 1 and 2 a minute ago. And, well, he's less than half a tenth off pole by the looks of things, or just over. And he's down in 7th, Alex.
This is a big, big opportunity, though, because he has that foundation lap from before. Knows he can risk everything as he comes across the line. Can he improve?
Oh, it's a
he
106!
can! That's
What a
what we
lap.
were looking for. It's a 106.9, and he put in that banker lap. That gave him the foundation to push forward, and he has looked very, very strong to go to the top of the timing page here. Brendan Lee trying to take it away, then coming out of the 3rd and final sector, foot to the floor. Brendan Lee across the line, and it's only an improvement to 8th.
Right, well, Marcel Kiefer, whip out your CV, my friend, because Nick Hamilton has a stamp of approval for you. 106s. That is a sense. That's probably the lap of the season, it has to be said.
You thought I was crazy when I said a 106, didn't you? You thought I was crazy. It's like,
Everyone did. Everyone. You could see it in everyone's eyes.
I think Marcel would have said, nah, come on.
yeah, unbelievable. That's a fantastic lap. And Tonitza right up there as well, which is what I expected. But yeah, Marcel Kiefer doing the job.
Texting his family, his friends. There's Biancalila, he's very happy as well. What a brilliant lap. We were just mentioning how he was struggling, not really performing. Will he get subbed out? Tom Deacon sipping his drink after mentioning that topic of conversation clearly has motivated him to a brilliant qualifying
Biancalila
session.
will want you to be choking on that drink.
I'm sure Tom will bring that up later on in tonight's race show. But I still can't get over that lap from Marcel Kiefer, Alex. That was pure perfection.
It's brilliant to see a driver in that place gets the first run sorted, and then you can see the ultimate. You can see what they've got, not having to bail themselves out, not having to worry about the top 5, maximum attack, and that was a thrilling pole position.
And we just saw Jarno Wotmir there, championship leader. Maybe not getting this as high up as he'd hoped. A few people pipping him, but that's just the nature of Canada, you'd have to say.
Yeah, it's just fine margins, isn't it? You were complaining all the way through how it wasn't close.
Look, I was just
I
motivating
can't believe it's not
them.
very close. What unbelievable. But yeah, you know,
Do I sound like that?
exactly like that.
Bang on impression, honestly.
Don't you start
Honestly,
jinxing.
I thought it was you for a second. I was in a weird state.
But no, he can't be expected to win everything. He just got to be in the mix, and he's got a great start to the championship. So I think he'll be happy with that. You know, you can't always be at the top of the leaderboard.
And none of us said Kiefer, did we? None of us predicted Kiefer.
No, funny that.
Yeah, and Brendan Lee had a bad qualifying. Oh yeah, that's because I predicted him.
Well, the curse continues. Never mind. I wonder with Otmir whether he's done so well in the opening event, whether he almost, that plays in the back of his mind, that he knows the consistency from now on in could be the way to go. Wouldn't even be conscious, I imagine. Wouldn't even be a conscious thing that he knows he's got a points lead to defend. And so do you just 1% dial it back? I don't know. But it's Phil Termet.
That's why they're driving and you're the commentator.
Easier
Just
to talk.
speculation.
Easier to talk.
Well, that was a fantastic qualifying session. Let's take a look at the top 10 and how they will line up for the Canadian Grand Prix. Kiefer, lap of the season, it has to be said. Look at that fist bump. He knew that was coming in that glorious little smile of his. You got Tonitza, Otmir, your top 3. Then Manuel Biancalila, he's going to be very happy. We just saw from him smiling away. Freddie Rasmussen looked pretty good for pole position earlier on in the qualifying session, down in 5th. Danny Beresne, there or thereabouts in the mix, very quietly going about his work. Then Simon Weigang, hopefully he's not going to be quitting F1 Esports. That would be good if he continues, because that's a great performance from him. Brendan Lee, Nicolas Longuet, probably a disappointing qualifying for him, but still ahead of his teammate who was knocked out in Q2. And Michael Romanidis flying the flag for Williams and doing a pretty good job, you have to say, Nick.
Yeah, I just want to say 1.5 tenths actually from P1 to P2. That just shows what a lap
Yeah.
that 6.9 is from Kiefer. because in the past we've been seeing half a tenth between the top 6.
And across longer lap times as well. I mean, we don't see usually 1:07s. That's there's only a few tracks that. Brazil, for example, is another one of those.
Yeah.
But we've seen really close margins across longer lap times. But this one, Marcel Kiefer, I'm not going to say he's going to run away with it because it's a tenth and a half. The race pace is going to be very close. What does he have to do from pole position, Alex, around this track?
Well, it's quite a short run down to turn 1, but the problem is that you can get outside line turning into the inside line, and you can get people risking it deep into the corner to try and claim the apex into 2. So it's not the simplest run on the opening lap. Now
we've got the man of qualifying, Marcel Kiefer, on the line, who I've just heard isn't feeling very well either and still drops a 106.9. Marcel, I'm about to say, how are you? But I feel like you're going to say I'm not feeling very great.
Really good. I'm actually sick since after event 1, and because of the practice and the grind, I couldn't stop and couldn't rest. So it was still like 10 to 12 hours each day. And so, I couldn't really recover, couldn't rest. But so I'm quite happy with how it's going so far. I mean, the first race was brilliant teamwork from me and Fredde. We were speaking a lot during that race, and it did work out well.
Yep, the race didn't happen yet, Marcel, but no worries. We continue and pretend that never happened. This is qualifying. Brilliant stuff. We'll move on swiftly from that, Marcel.
We'll let it out, Marcel. It'll be fine,
we'll edit out
mate.
this
It'll be
live
fine.
show. No problem. Marcel, talk to me about your 106.9, because that was, well, we called it a perfect lap. The fact that you're 1.5 tenths clear around such a short track. You're still laughing. Let's talk about your lap. How happy were you with it?
Well, the lap was quite decent. I mean, I was sending it because in quali 1 I already had wheel issues. My wheel just switched from PC to PS4 mode, so I was on track, and during my lap I couldn't have control over anything anymore, and I was like, okay, I'm out. And the AI ruined my tires, so I had one shot, and in the second quali I only had like really old tires. So I was quite confident even with the old tires to set a good lap because I knew my pace on this track. And then I had 2 fresh sets in Q3, and then I just sent it.
Good stuff. So obviously you've got a great position to start the Canadian Grand Prix. Zandvoort's never happened, of course, wink, wink. No. But in terms of how you're going to win around Canada, because it's such a difficult track to keep the cars behind, there's a long straight down towards the last chicane. How do you see the race planning out?
I think it's just don't cut the corners because... as you could see, there was a big gap, and I don't think that's because of driving skill. I think that's mainly because I had the biggest balls.
In a nutshell, thank you so much for that, Marcel. And finally from us, in terms of, we've seen in races gone by, the alternate strategy worked really well. For example, Jarno Wotmir coming through the field at the end. Are you worried about that as a potential undercut threat to you?
If Jarno is behind me again on softs or whatever tire, like opposite tire at the end of the next race, I will just, I don't know. I will just give him a wink and let him by, and then, I'll talk with him after why he's always doing that to me. But I think I'm not worried about that now. I'm just happy about P1, and we'll chill a bit now, rest a bit, and then be ready for the race later.
Yeah, and then maybe have one of your drinks behind you as well to really perk you up before the start of the Canadian Grand Prix. Thanks so much, Marcel, for your time.
Thank you, Matt.
Cheers. There you go, Marcel, not feeling very well, and hinting to some things that never happened. But apart from that, he's looking very strong and very much cementing his position as number 1 at Red Bull, which we wouldn't have said coming into this.
Yeah, I was going to say, I don't think we saw that coming at the start of the season. Wouldn't have put any money on that at all. And yet, he is doing the business. And you can tell with that chat with him there, he's in a really good place right now.
Yeah, he's very matter of fact, isn't he? He doesn't mess around. He just gets on, does the job. He says 9 to 12 hours?
10 to 12 hours.
10 to 12 hours of practice. Wow.
His eyes must be falling out. Now we're going to go to my favourite part of the show, which is talking about who underperformed, who performed about where we expect, and who overperformed. So we're going to go with underperformed first. Who wants to take it? It's not me.
You take that, Alex.
Okay, perfect. Alex, go.
I'm going to go for Enzo Benito. I wasn't very impressed with Q1, purely because we know the talent that he's got. So he was the underperformance for me.
And what about you? Who performed about expected?
About expected, Jarno Wotmir, because we're used to that level from him. And then overperformance.
Oh, are you taking my overperformance?
Oh, go on. It better be the right
Here it
one.
is. Here it is.
He's got.
My overperformance is Manuel Biancalilla, of course.
Good.
P4,
Yeah,
brilliant result for Manuel.
Seamless link as well, everyone. Well done.
And here's his onboard. That's why it looks a little bit different. And we can see him putting his thoughts towards the final chicane, which we've spoken so much about, throws it in. And some of the drivers actually move around their telemetry, so they have it in the middle where the wheel is. It's interesting to see their different setups. But he was very happy with that and surely sends a statement to the team, do not sub me. Tom Deacon, don't listen to him. Keep me in the team.
Yeah, well, Tom Deacon's not going to be on his Christmas card list.
He's not. He really isn't. I'm sure Tom will be sending one to say sorry.
It's all right. He's not on mine either.
Now qualifying is over. Let's tease the evening show as Tom Deacon's clapping away. 7:30 p.m. You will be able to find us exactly here to unfold exactly what happens for both Zandvoort, which hasn't happened yet, of course, and the Canadian Grand Prix, which we've just seen qualifying for. 7:30 p.m. GMT. And I'm really looking forward to it, Alex. It's going to be an exciting one to commentate. Zandvoort and Canada, very different tracks.
Yes, you
Both
can,
quite short.
you can overtake at one. And the other one, well, a bit of a question mark. I guess we'll find out down
How
at
do you
the
see it
third one.
unfolding, Zandvoort?
I see it being very, very important to do a lot of work on lap one. You have more variation. Strategy in laps going to be absolutely vital, out laps as well.
And final thoughts from you, Nick. What can we expect from tonight's show?
I'm super excited, especially to see what happens at Zandvoort as well. We've got some people out of position as well. Danny Beresne down, struggling at Zandvoort. And then Canada is going to be incredible, I think. It's going to be a really, really interesting race. There's going to be so much pace. Everyone's going to be really, really fast. So, yeah, tune in.
Looking forward to it. Thank you so much to Nick Hamilton, to Alex Jakes and to Tom Deacon, who we've insulted throughout the entire show. We'll see you at 7:30 p.m. to see how the races unfold later on. Bye-bye.